Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me today, it's Patrick Van Straten and James Wayne, looking resplendent in his Man City away shirt from, what year was that?
I don't know, 90s.
Nice, I love the 90s. Anyways, first question.
You don't remember them.
No.
I do, and they were terrible.
Really?
Yeah, they were
I
garbage.
always thought it was quite a fun decade. But anyway, we're getting distracted already. Let's get into Discord Gang. Discord Gang's question. Their app name is Discord FD, and they said, who should Gladbach sign to try and maintain their title challenge? But before we get into that, just a quick reminder to subscribe to EuroFootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a Continental Club. Obviously, guys, we can't lie to you. It's been a pretty uneventful window so far, but there is a title race in full swing in Germany, Spain and Italy, and there are potentially some massive gains to be made in the window. So obviously, Barca and Real are only separated on goal difference. There's 5 points between Leipzig, Bayern and Gladbach in the Bundesliga, and there's just 6 between Inter, Lazio and Juventus, with Lazio having a game in hand. So potentially a couple of signings in the final week could make all the difference. And we're going to kick off with Barcelona, Pat, because they spent big in the summer, but their return compared to last year hasn't been great.
Yeah, they are top of the league right now, but they're 6 points worse off than they were at this stage of last season. And I think their goal difference overall is 6 goals worse as well. Plus, they've just been really unimpressive to watch. I mean, under Valverde, they were playing a pretty functional style. There was no real place for creativity except from Messi. You were seeing Frenkie de Jong largely covering the flank. I mean, Artur was always kind of favoured in midfield, but he's not really a two-way midfielder, and Busquets obviously has been slowing down gradually. So it just kind of felt like they were moving further and further away from like this kind of ideal of what Barcelona should be. And in going for Quique Setien, they're trying to go back in that direction. Quique Setien is known as a possession coach, but actually he's a very different sort of possession coach to what Barcelona previously had. Not all possession coaches are the same, and Setien's technique largely has always been what you'd call defensive possession. Like the way that Betis used to overcome bigger sides is just by keeping the ball away from them. And really then they'd use wing backs and often one midfielder to get forward and make the difference in the final third. Previously that midfielder was Dani Ceballos, it was Fabian Ruiz, it was Giovanni Lo Celso, and that I think is probably the most exciting thing about Setien, which is that the output he got from those guys all round was genuinely remarkable. And as talented as all three of them are, Frenkie de Jong is just as talented. So we could well see de Jong really, really explode under him. And they're going to need it because Luis Suarez is out for the season. Ousmane Dembele, I think, has got about 450 minutes in the league. It may be even less, in fact. Right now, with Suarez out, Setien can kind of go to a 2 up front with Griezmann and Messi. And I think that actually suits Griezmann a lot better. Griezmann has been dreadful so far this season, in my opinion. I thought it was a bad signing at the time. I hated it. It was far too much money for a guy who was aging and whose numbers were getting worse and worse.
Definitely dreadful for the money they spent.
It was a ridiculous signing. And he's been really isolated when he's played on the left this season. But in that first game under Setien, you saw him getting deeper. You saw him actually kind of connecting with the midfielders in a way that he used to at Atletico Madrid. And I think that maybe playing in a 2, bringing him into a more central zone, will enable him to do the things that we used to praise him for at Atleti. It also might mean that we get wing backs. So Junior Firpo obviously was very good at getting forward and getting shots off in the box. When he played under Setien, we might see that again.
Imagine Jordi Alba being great in that system as well.
Sure, though Jordi Alba's been in and out this season, and I mean his ability to defend has been gradually disappearing too. But I mean, Barcelona have an amazing squad that is still kind of weirdly constructed, and I think that it would help them a lot if Coutinho was still there. To be honest, I think that Setien might be a little bit disappointed that he isn't around. But I think maybe a 3-5-2 might be the way to go with this collection of talent, especially given how thin they are up front. And they've just got to ride it out and hope they can get some value from Dembele down the stretch. I think that they'll probably move on some guys in the summer. But fundamentally, the place you'd want them to strengthen would be at forward. I just can't imagine them going and spending another 100 mil on somebody after having done it for Griezmann. So they've been linked with Aubameyang. They tried to loan him. That was not going to work. If they want him, they can get him in the summer. Like, I mean, Arsenal will probably accept a big bid because he'll have a year left on his contract and he's over 30. But they failed with that move. Then the rumours they were going to go for Rodrigo Valencia, but I think he'll still cost over 60 mil as well. Lautaro Martinez still linked. That's 100 mil. Lautaro Martinez would be great. Any of these guys would actually be pretty good. Well, maybe not Rodrigo, but any of these guys would be good for them. It's just that it's a lot of money, and you're going to have to carry on eating these wages. Like Suarez has still got a couple of years on his contract, big wages. Obviously Messi, unbelievable wages, but still worth it. Griezmann, big wages. Ousmane Dembele, I imagine, is not earning a pittance either. So and Coutinho might come back if Bayern don't decide to make it
Bayern
permanent.
aren't that keen on keeping him permanent.
Which is weird, given that he's been incredible.
Yeah.
So then you've suddenly got a situation where your front line is so stacked that you actually probably can't afford to bring in another striker unless you do a fire sale of some other elements of the squad. And yes, you can get a bit of money from TT. You might be able to get a bit of money for one of the fullbacks, but
maybe Rakitic as well.
But not really.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I don't think Barcelona so far this season have not been the best side in Spain. It's been Real Madrid to me, and I don't really see them doing business to get them over the line. So unless Messi really goes to another level, which of course is always possible, I don't really see them winning a big trophy.
It's definitely going to be difficult. It'll be interesting to see whether they do go to that 3-5-2, because also having sold, or did they sell or loan to Devo? I can't remember in the end. Anyway, they don't have that many centre-backs either, especially with TT's injury issues over the last sort of year or 18 months or so. And also, if they do stay with a 2 up front, maybe they don't need to strengthen the forward areas, because Ansu Fati can obviously play out there. Carlos Perez has been good on occasion this year.
Are they good enough though?
They're not going to win them a Champions League at the moment.
They just need to be doing smart moves. They're a little bit they've got so much talent that what Barcelona should be doing is, in a summer when they don't go out and make big purchases, they should go and take a couple of 25 million gambles. But instead they're we'll pay 40 mil for Malcolm. Oh, it turns out we don't like him. They're overpaying for those kind of rotation guys instead of saying, you know what, 15 mil here, 20 mil here. That, I think that would have actually made a lot more sense for them. But they're a horribly run club. They're run by absolute morons, and they've got to spend a load of money on rebuilding their stadium over the next few years because the Camp Nou has turned into a dump. So I mean, I just think Barcelona just pissed me off, man, because they're like Man United. They're like Man United, but with Messi. They've got so much talent that they're kind of okay in a way that Man United aren't. But they continually misuse their resources, and it's just frustrating. They could be so good.
I'd prefer them also this summer if they were going to go for, rather than go for someone like a Aubameyang, even though I'm sure he'd be delighted with the move, go for someone a lot younger with potential. Yeah. Someone like Victor Osimhen at Lille, who's been absolutely awesome this year. I think it's 12 goals and 3 assists in the league and Champions League, and looks, every bit a top player, although slightly risky, having only really excelled in the top 5 league for 1 season. James, let's move on to Real Madrid, because they are, as we've talked about, level on points with Barcelona. Do you feel like they could make any moves this January?
I mean, if they really want to secure the league, yes, it would be advisable to. I mean, their defence has been pretty good. I think since October they've been on a really good run, only conceding 4. So for Zidane to have a decent defence is quite surprising. I mean, Sergio Ramos has also been out. So it's a bit of a change, because I never really expect Zidane to be a good defensive manager. So to actually see this is actually quite surprising. But their attack is lacking. I think it's only Benzema that's got more than 3 goals in the league, so it's not great in terms of their attack. So obviously, I mean, getting another forward in for any team would be brilliant, but Real Madrid really do need somebody else to kind of take some of the pressure off Benzema. But the midfield as well, not really. There's quite a bit of a Asensio-style gap missing in there, because, I mean, he's been out for a long, long time with this ACL injury, and their midfield isn't really helping them at all. Isco, I don't think has got a goal involvement. James Rodriguez, I should say, sorry. 2 goal involvements. So it's really, there's no real, kind of 10 that's really helping that team. I think you've put some realistic and unrealistic options down.
I was having a bit of
fun. Odegaard coming back, yeah, makes sense. Makes complete sense. He's been phenomenal this season, really pushing on from kind of. You saw it, and we thought this will be great. Went to Real Madrid, kind of went under the radar a bit. Everyone kind of forgot about him, but he's really pushed on this season. He got 4 goals, 5 assists so far, which, I mean, he's 20. You forget how young he is. He's still 21.
Only just turned 21.
But you've put in here James Madison.
Yeah, I thought in the summer.
I mean, I would genuinely love that, just for another English player to go out. But I don't think he's the Real Madrid quality yet. I mean, Leicester have kind of dipped off a little bit recently. I can't see him going for James Madison personally. But yeah, there is a kind of a 10 missing from Real Madrid, and I think there's big gaps needs filling.
Well, I think it would just give them more tactical flexibility. But then I think the emergence of like Fede Valverde in the last couple of months, Zidane seems pretty well set on his 4-3-3. And then Jovic played pretty well against Sevilla at the weekend as well, got a lovely assist for Casemiro. So hopefully he can kick on in 2020. But yeah, I feel like a 10 wouldn't be the worst idea if they were to get rid of Isco and James Rodriguez.
But they do have those two 10s, like and Odegaard.
They're not
well.
using them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, doesn't that suggest to you that they don't want to play a 10 as opposed to they need just a different 10? Like, because Isco and James are not the same kind of 10.
It's a 10 that Zidane needs to be happy with. He's very picky with who he chooses, and he's one of these people that if he doesn't like you, he's just not going to play you despite the quality that you possess. So yeah, getting someone that Zidane, it's strange because you won't go out for the best quality. Because if Zidane doesn't like him, he's not going to play him. So you're going to have to get someone who's good and Zidane likes, which is a bit of a tricky situation.
But I also just don't think that like it's necessarily possible to, given the other midfielders they have, like you want to play Valverde and Casemiro, like, and I just don't think that you can have a good defence and play a 10 at the same time with some players as limited as they are. So like everyone's praising Toni Kroos this season, but Toni Kroos is a problem that has to be solved by the application of Fede Valverde. So if you want to keep Kroos in the side, and you kind of do need his progressive passing because Valverde and Casemiro aren't going to do it, then you have to sacrifice a player going forward. So I think even if you've got like whoever Zidane thinks of as the best 10 in the world, whoever that might be, I still don't think he's going to play him because like it's going to mean sacrificing the defence, which is the thing they've got going for them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was struggling with Real Madrid. I thought like they have a fantastic deep squad, particularly when people come back from loan as well, because Kubo's obviously coming back from loan, Hakimi's coming back in the summer, and suddenly they're pretty well stocked in pretty much every position, especially with the emergence of Eder Militao at centre-back. They could probably think about getting rid of Nacho, because I think he's approaching 30 now and is not playing at all. Yeah. So potentially move that on and get a fourth choice centre-back. But they are pretty well stocked in every area, particularly with Hazard, Asensio coming back from injury. They've got Rodrigo, Vinicius. Like their squad is so deep.
They're just not quite like in the forward position, just not quite performing to the level. But I think they will win the league because there's so much uncertainty with Barcelona right now, and Real Madrid are just going from strength to strength, which is always a bit concerning.
Yeah, I mean they've been on an absolutely fantastic run. Still just one defeat in the league, but kind of disappointing to not be ahead of Barcelona considering that run. But let's move on to Italy, because it hasn't been a good couple of weeks for Inter Milan. They've slipped back a little bit. 2 wins in their last 6, with all the rest drawn. But they're generally in still quite a good position. Only Lazio and Atalanta have scored more goals than them, and no one has conceded fewer than their 17. But Conte is doing some very weird moves. I would say he's gone a little bit mad, almost. Don't know why you're bringing in 34-year-old Ashley Young. Don't know why you're bringing in Victor Moses. And don't really know why you're bringing in... Well, Olivier Giroud makes a little bit more sense if you want to play him in the Europa League, keep your Lautaro Martinez and Lukaku fit for the league. But I just feel like there was potential to upgrade in fullbacks, particularly with Asamoah now being sort of over 30, I believe. They've been playing Candreva at right wing-back, which, whilst he's played pretty well this year, they could definitely upgrade there as well. D'Ambrosio as well, potential to upgrade their fullback depth, and it looks like Lazaro is now going to Newcastle, which is kind of strange. I think only brought him in about 6 months ago from Hertha Berlin. So I was trying to think of what they should have done. It doesn't look like they'll do any more business, particularly if they bring in Eriksen and Giroud to complete those 4 deals. But I was thinking that there's rumours that João Cancelo isn't that happy in Manchester. I don't know whether that's just paper talk.
Yeah, hopefully.
And he has actually not really been featuring in the big games this year. I think he's played against Chelsea and Wolves, but that's about it. I think he's played about 9 Premier League games. So struggling to displace Kyle Walker, who does need to be rested on occasion. So I don't think Pep Guardiola would be happy to get rid of him. But I was actually surprised when I saw his statistics, because when I've watched him play, I don't think he's actually been particularly effective, at least for what he's known for. But 4.6 tackles and interceptions, 1.1 shots, 1.2 key passes, nearly over a dribble and a half a game. He's actually 5th for deep progressions and 1st for possession adjusted tackles and interceptions in the Premier League, which is really impressive actually. Shows that, even with, obviously he's not going to have that much time to do tackles and interceptions with the amount of possession that Man City dominate, but when they don't have the ball, it's João Cancelo that's winning it back more often than anyone else in the Premier League, which I was very surprised about.
He was great at Inter as well.
Yeah.
When he was there.
Great at Inter as well. And that would have made a very good amount of sense if they weren't looking to bring in Ashley Young and Victor Moses. I'm so confused about that. And then potentially at left back, Kazar was being linked with a loan move to Arsenal, or is that actually maybe it's permanent?
Was it a summer move?
Oh, is it a summer move?
Yeah.
Okay. But I was thinking maybe loan him for the next 6 months, particularly with Asamoah out injured. So these are where I would have gone for Conte, and I'm slightly disappointed with his transfer business, but I'm sure he knows more than I do about what he needs in his squad. But particularly uninspiring moves with the title challenge still very much on. So that's Inter Milan. Bayern Munich have brought in Odriozola on loan. They're 3 points off Leipzig at the moment, I believe. And Pat, it's kind of a it's a good move for Odriozola because it would imagine that Pavard goes more centrally. Do you think that's the thinking behind this move?
Well, yeah, and they need depth there, anyway, just because what you don't want to have to do is play Kimmich there. Kimmich has been so good in midfield that you just want to keep him there as much as possible. And it's just a sensible move. Odriozola is a really good fullback who's barely played at Real Madrid. He's still young, so if he does well, you could think about buying him at the end of the season, especially seeing as at Real Madrid, like you've said, Hakimi, Carvajal, fullback areas are really, really deep. I don't know. I mean, I still think the Bayern's quality will probably show down the stretch, but Gladbach is still really good, and Leipzig are really, really good. And what we haven't seen Bayern do, we've seen Bayern come from behind to overtake Dortmund before, but what we haven't seen them do is come from behind to overtake 2 or 3 sides before. And that's kind of difficult because if one of those sides gets hot or gets good, just kick into another gear or just happen to have a really lucky streak, then it's suddenly much, much harder. You need both of those sides to be performing pretty much at their level and you to be performing at a higher level for you to come back and win the title. So this is going to be the stiffest test they've faced in a while with the most experienced coach they've had in a while. But I think Odriozola is a good signing. And I think from their point of view, even if it would be a bit of a disaster for them if they don't win the title, but they have also discovered stuff in the course of this season. They've discovered how good a midfield can be with Kimmich in it. They've discovered how good Alfonso Davis could be at left back. These are significant discoveries. So, yeah, I think they need to make some signings in the summer, but frankly, they could just ride it out and see how they go. And if you made me bet, I'd probably still bet on them to win the league.
Yeah.
There you have it. But guys, the original question was actually about Gladbach. I realise we haven't really covered them that much, but for me, Gladbach this window, they've got a pretty settled starting 11 at least when everyone's fully fit. I think it's mainly about keeping hold of their stars in the summer. Marcus Thuram, I think there'll be a lot of interest in him again. Alisson Play has had a bit of a dry patch recently, but again, interest in him. Florian Neuhaus, Zakaria, Elvedi, their centre-back as well. So it's mainly about keeping hold of their top players. James, that came out a bit weird. Sort of cross between Jimbo and James there. James, we've got you on the show. Makes sense to briefly touch on Man City.
Yeah.
Would you make any centre-back signings potentially in the last few days of the window?
Yeah, I mean, that's the obvious thing to say, bringing in a centre-back just for the fact that I think Laporte coming back is, for a lack of a better phrase, like a new signing. He will give stability to John Stones, who I think has been poor without a kind of designated part or someone he can really trust. Because the trust in Laporte and Stones last season was, it was there to see. There was really good kind of partnership building there, and it's just been a mess. And we need someone who can kind of fill in for when somebody does eventually get injured, because it's just been the case with our season. So centre back would be great. Who that is, I don't want us going out for a Soyuncu, spending 70 million on someone who we don't really need right now. We just need to kind of spend a bit sensibly, and maybe on an older defender who can kind of just give a bit more stability. Doesn't have to be a world beater, but just do his job. And if these João Cancelo rumours are are true, then definitely some form of fullback cover. Because if he wants to leave, I can see him genuinely leaving. If he can't be happy with what's going on right now. You've left Juventus to join a team that should be challenging for the title, and we're not even playing him. So, and I think he has been better than Walker when he's come on. Although Walker has been decent this season, but João Cancelo is just a bit more confident when he plays. He's not losing the ball as much. He's making the right decisions more often, and he doesn't look like he's panicking as much as Kyle Walker has done this season a little bit. Yeah, so if he leaves, then but our defence right now it's just a mess. We need to think about the summer, not this window.
Yeah. I think it's a similar sort of story with Dortmund as well. They obviously had such a successful last summer, but looks like they need another centre-back as well, because that Hummels re-signing really hasn't worked out for them. They are very shaky defensively. But guys, that's our roundup of what the title challengers could do in the last few days of the window. Whether any of that happens, we'll see. But let's move on to our big match preview. This weekend there was quite a few options for our big match preview. Valencia host Barcelona, Lille play PSG, Sunderland play Doncaster tonight, live on Sky Sports 1. Napoli play Juventus. But we've talked about La Liga and Serie A games in the last couple of weeks. So instead we're going to focus on the big Bundesliga clash this weekend, which is Bayern Munich versus Schalke, which takes place tomorrow on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. It sees second play fifth. They're actually only separated, by 3 points, so massive game. Pat, Bayern, we've briefly touched on them, but how would you sort of review their season so far? They're not in the best position in the league.
No, they're in the second best position in the league. They're all right. I mean, they've lost 4 of 18 games. That's kind of the headline thing. So if they lose one more game, they'll equal their worst record in the last 7 seasons, which was 2014-15. I mean, they did finish 10 points ahead of Wolfsburg that season, but still. And I think, to be honest, I just think they've been pretty unlucky. Like, they take the most shots in the league. They concede the fewest shots in the league. They have the best XG for. They have the second best XG against. They have the best expected points. I think they've basically been fine. Lewandowski's been obscenely good. Coutinho has been great.
Even in their losses, I felt like there's no they've not been outplayed in any of their losses.
Their last loss was on the 7th of December against Gladbach. Since then, I think they've got 4 wins in 4. They've scored 15 and conceded 2. But that Gladbach game, I think after 40 minutes, I think Gladbach still hadn't had a shot, and Bayern had like 10.
And missed some good chances as well.
Yeah, so that was the sort of game where you're like, okay, if you don't kill a team, then you can't really complain when they come back and steal the result. But at the same time, you play that game another 100 times, and I think they win probably 90 of them. So it's just, they have had a bit of bad luck this season. Obviously, some significant injuries as well. Luka Hernandez been out long term.
Sula.
Zula's been out for the entire season. Boateng is clearly on the downslope into retirement. So I just feel like, despite all of those things, they're still pretty much hanging on in the title race. And as a result, I just sort of feel like they've got enough to get it done down the stretch. A bunch of these guys are likely to come back to fitness. I think we will see Luka Hernandez, right?
I think he's back for this game, maybe.
But it might be a while before we see the best of him, I guess. But like I was saying before, Alfonso Davis has just been absolutely sensational. At left back, see
you later, David.
He's a little bit like you're seeing a similar thing with Bukayo Saka at Arsenal. You never really used to see this, where a tricky winger would just become a left back for a few games. But both of those guys are putting up defensive numbers that make you think, okay, there might be a future for you in this position. And Bukayo Saka, I think, has been really good at left back. Alfonso Davis has been on another level. He's still doing a load of creative stuff. I think he's at 1.6 chances created per game, something like that. But he's completing 3 dribbles. But he's at 4.5 tackles and interceptions per 90.
For Bayern.
And I think with
65% possession.
And I think if you look at his tackles as well, he's got a 75. I think it might be even higher than that percentage completion rate when he tries to make a tackle. So it is that kind of thing, where you always wonder why a player like Messi, you think, should be the best tackler in the world, because he's so good at reading the movement of the ball. And actually, maybe we're starting to see this with these wingers, where because they understand how wingers play, they might be a little bit better at kind of matching up to them defensively, and of course they can match up to them physically as well. I mean, at the same time, to me, this season has been about, in attack, it's been about 3 guys, which is Lewandowski, Gnabry, and Coutinho. Gnabry is actually kind of playing the stereotype of Robben. This idea of Robben just kind of cutting inside again and again and again. And actually, he didn't do that quite as much as people think, but Gnabry does that. And he's just amazing at it.
Picks up great
been really,
positions
really
as
good.
well.
And having Coutinho, having that really incisive passer, a guy who can dribble, who can create, and who also is going to get shots for himself, is really helpful, I think, in that deeper role too. So I think actually Bayern have coped with adversity pretty well this season. And when I look around the other sides, I think Leipzig are the only team who've got the depth to really kind of push on. Yeah. And I still think Bayern are deeper. But to me, the title is Leipzig or Bayern.
Yeah, especially with Dortmund's defensive deficiencies, definitely.
They're like 15 points worse off this season than they were last season.
They're not having a good year. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucien Favre lost his job before the end of the year if things don't improve.
I'd keep him till the summer and then I'd sack him.
Yeah, there'll be better options in the summer. But yeah, Thomas Müller also having a really good creative campaign. I think it's his best year of his career. I think it's about over 3 key passes. So fair play to him. But guys, something a bit different now. I asked for your fan opinions on Twitter. This is a new section of Continental Club, and very kindly, Calvin, Jeremy and Madison got in touch about who they want to be the next Bayern manager. So let's hear from these Bayern fans now.
The manager that I would like to see succeed him in the summer is Thomas Tuchel. You know, his use of wingers, and obviously we're in the market for wingers. You know, we're hoping to bring Sané in the summer. We've already got Koeman, we've got Gnabry, we've got Davies, and Tuchel's coaching of that wing play, as well as his exploitation and use of the half spaces, would lend itself really, really well to the team that we've got at the moment.
No, Ten Hag took an Ajax team to the Champions League semi-finals last year whilst developing the young talents, while speaking German and having already coached the Bayern Munich second team, whilst Pep Guardiola was there. He seems like the perfect fit. His philosophy matches what Bayern want, and he has been part of that Bayern family, which is something very important to the Bayern board.
I think I'd pick Miroslav Klose. I know it's a surprise pick, but he's managed 45 games plus. He's very tactically flexible, playing 3-5 and 4 at the back, especially 4-2-3-1, which is a formation I want to see us playing.
Some interesting suggestions there. I particularly enjoyed the Ten Hag one. But yeah, Hansi Flick has a very good record, 8 wins in 10 League and Champions League games. So maybe they'll keep him permanently. Let's see. But, James, we need to talk about Kieran's boys, Schalke.
Yeah, they didn't start the season off too great. They, didn't get a win in their first 2, but that was to Gladbach and Bayern. So looking back on it, it's not to, you can't really feel bad about that considering how they've pushed on this season. But since then, they've won 9 of their last 16, and that 9 is already one more than they won in the whole of last season. So, things have definitely improved in terms of the results. But in terms of the performances and the way they're playing, they're not actually too dissimilar. It was more of a case of underperforming last season and overperforming this season. But I do think the players seem to be playing for the manager more. There seems to be more kind of the system's more in place. Even though the goals and the goals that they're scoring, and the goals they're conceding seem to be still unimpressive. Let's say, but we have got some real standouts in the Schalke team that are really, playing for Wagner and really kind of see his kind of vision on the style of football he wants to play. And you've got Suat Serdar, 7 goals in 15 Bundesliga games,
awesome.
4.6 tackles and interceptions. So he's really, really putting his shift in. And we saw at Huddersfield the way that majority of the team, they have to work together. It's kind of one of those situations where they're not a standout bunch, but they always put a shift in, and he's definitely doing that. 2.1 shots, 0.7 key passes a game, 3.1 dribbles, which is the most in the squad. It's a ridiculous season from him. I mean, the amount of effort it takes just to put one of those statistics in, let alone all of them. Harrett has also been decent, 10 goal involvements, 1.5 shots, 1.9 key passes. John Joe Kenny, though, this one I quite like. Obviously, I'm not very Brexit, but I do enjoy when English players go abroad because it needs to happen more often. We're so kind of confined into the league system. I do really enjoy it when players go, and the Bundesliga seems to be kind of a real thriving area for these kind of youngsters. He's been performing really well. 18 games so far. I think he's got the second most minutes in the whole squad, which is fantastic for a 22-year-old right back coming up in a foreign league. Well, not really coming up because he did play at Everton, but I mean,
really developing.
Yeah, he's developing. I should say. That's good. Yeah, 1 goal, 2 assists, and really good goal in that. I think it was outside the box adjust, but I remember it being an absolute screamer. 2.3 tackles and interceptions, 0.7 key passes, 0.3 dribbles. So not outstanding, but good, and it looks like it can progress more. So, I mean, things are looking good for Schalke, but in terms of this game, I don't see it going well.
Yeah,
it's Bayern.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be really difficult. I mean, that loss in the start of the season was 3-0. Lewandowski hat-trick set him on the way for the season, although he had scored in that first game as well, of course. But yeah, fair play to Schalke. I think this is a really sort of weird. I thought at the time really weird managerial appointment because I thought after he left Huddersfield in sort of January, February time, and they look like they're on course to go down. Obviously, there's no shame in taking a club like Huddersfield down, but I didn't think you'd get a club of this stature just yet. But yeah, big ask in this game. They've got an awful record in this fixture. They haven't won in it since December 2010, 18 games ago. In that time, they've lost 15 to Bayern. They haven't won at the Allianz, so obviously it's away this year, tomorrow even, since April 2009, and they've got some real injuries as well. Stambouli, Sane, McKennie, and Amin Harit are all out as well. Bayern as well, Sula, Koeman, and Javi Martinez are out. But guys, prediction time. I think I can only see this bit going one way. James, what do you reckon?
I think it might be a bit of a pumping, to be honest. I've regrettably, because I have really enjoyed Schalke's kind of rise back to where they should be, but it's going to be a 4-1 or 4-0 in my opinion. I don't think they've got any chance of winning this game.
Pat, can you see any hope for those in blue?
Not really. I think this is an easy Bayern win.
Yeah. Score?
3-0.
I'm going to go 7-0.
Oh, love it.
It's going to be an absolute
love it.
bloodbath in Munich this weekend.
Absolutely love it.
Can't wait. Let's move on to quickfire questions. Our quickfire question this week comes in from Last Young King, who asks, do you believe PSG can win the Champions League even if they lose Cavani? James, let's keep this quickfire. What do you reckon?
Yes, I think they're taking the mickey out of their league. I think the players have a phenomenal... they did extremely well in the Champions League, bossed Real Madrid, topped the group. I don't see why they couldn't. Icardi's... if they lose Cavani, they've got Icardi, and the front line's just horrendously good as it is, so I don't think it detriments them too much. They should be the favourites. That's all they've really got this season, as every season really, because the league's wrapped up anyway.
Yeah, it's so fun watching Neymar, Cavani,
Neymar,
Icardi, Mbappe and Di Maria all in the same lineup. Although it does leave them slightly suspect defensively. I remember watching them against Monaco a couple of weeks ago in a 3-3 draw. It was a lot of fun, but kind of like a FIFA game. Pat, do you think they can still do this?
They can roll out a more defensive lineup though.
They can, yeah.
If they want, they can go out with like Marquinhos and
Verratti,
Herrera and Gay. They can move things around a bit. And Tuchel is an intelligent coach who can do that. I mean, to be honest, when I look around Europe, I don't really see many sides they need to be scared of. Yeah. Like I think they can go toe to toe with Real Madrid and Barcelona. I think City are obviously up there, and Liverpool as well. But at the same time, with Liverpool, last night they played against Wolves and they were pretty porous. They gave up a bunch of big chances. In fact, by XG, they were behind 1.8 to 1.6, and you think that's against Wolves. Like, don't get me wrong, Liverpool are a great side, and they're probably just a bit tired coming out of Christmas, and they'll almost certainly have won the league by the latter stages of the Champions League, so they'll be able to rest some guys down the stretch. But it just feels like PSG have got the attackers to pretty much cause problems for anybody. And at the same time, I would only let Cavani go if somebody offers like an obscene amount of money, because it's just worth having that debt.
I think it's so unnecessary to sell him, but yeah, I think they can win it without him as well. I kind of agree. Sarabia, Draxler's barely played this year, so they've got a lot of forward options, and they could change system to a 4-2-3-1 and not even use Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria in the same lineup, although they will. So there's so many options there. Tuchel's actually built a very well-rounded squad. The only area potentially to strengthen is, as we say every year, is fullbacks, because Thomas Meunier's contract's coming out in the summer. Obviously, Kazawa looks like he's leaving as well. So yeah, they can definitely win the Champions League to conclude, and what a tie against Dortmund as well. But guys, that's all we've got time for on Continental Club for this week. Let us know what you guys thought of our comments in the comments section below. That was a lot of comments in one sentence. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know your big match preview predictions as well. And James, what should they go and do now?
Just watch all of our stuff. There's so much every day, all the football. Just watch it. Just watch it.
Pat?
Yeah, same.
Nice. Okay, and crucially, go and check out Obaseki's Unfiltered with Zinchenko. Went out yesterday on Football Daily. Well worth a watch. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye. No one else waving, just me.
Yeah,